keep an eye on the roads and, of course, break the warnings down for you as we get them. Right now, we're watching Greensboro and Charlotte, as I mentioned. That's where we've got active tornado warnings. So right in our metropolitan areas across the west central part of the state and into central North Carolina for Greensboro. Let's start in west central North Carolina here around the Charlotte area. This storm continues to have a tornado warning on it, likely still getting some hail here. It's Mecklenburg County. Some of the cities would be Matthews, Mint Hill, and Providence. So we're talking about the south suburbs of the city of Charlotte right up to the South Carolina state line. Again, this is a radar indicated area of rotation, and at least a bit of rotation right, well, now you can really see it clearly as we put it into motion here around the Pineville area. So some well-defined rotation within this storm, and again, that continues to move off towards the east. We head down into the Jacksonville, Florida area where we've got some storms. We'll continue to monitor for the severe threat in those areas, but now we get you up into Greensboro area, Davidson, Forsyth, and Guilford counties under a tornado warning here. This is radar indicated. Again, looking at some areas of rotation, some broader rotation there, and then, of course, south of High Point, rotation there as well. Maybe even a rotational area over by Kernersville. So these storms continue to move off towards the northeast. They are going to bring with it that opportunity, not just for a tornado, but again, some very, very heavy rain along with these. So maybe difficult to spot at times, depending on where you are in relation to the storm. High Point, you're up next at 5:02 local time. Freeman Hill, just before 5:10. Greensboro, you are in the path of this storm. 5:22 local time for you. And again, you are under that tornado warning. So if you're in Greensboro area, if you're watching us, if you know somebody who's on the roads right now, it's 5:02 local time. I'm sure somebody watching knows somebody who just left the office. Give them a call. Let them know this storm is on the way. Get to a safe spot, ride it out, and then continue the commute home. This is not a time where you want to be out there on the roads. This is going to be crossing over 85 and I-40. Here's our easternmost warning, Guilford and Randolph counties under that tornado warning. And then again, around the Jacksonville area, had some really potent lightning out of that storm. That has since moved offshore, but still some areas of rain along the 95 area here north and south of the Jacksonville area. So watching parts of Florida where we've seen tornado warnings active throughout the day. We look at the big picture here across sections of the southeast, our active radar, and where we've got that available energy. So plenty of that in place still across sections of eastern Georgia, but especially into the Carolinas. Take a look at eastern North Carolina. Things are still ripe, as well as central South Carolina. I think we could be looking at some potent storms here over the next few hours, and that's why we still do have that tornado watch in effect through this evening for many of these communities. At the surface, breezy southerly winds helping to usher in that moisture and also, again, helping to usher in some of those warmer temperatures. A strong low-level jet, though, moving through. So we do have some turning of winds with height. Still could get those storms that produce the hail and the tornadoes, exactly what we're seeing right now. Torcon values of 5 here from Charlotte to Raleigh, so right in line with where we're seeing the storms right now. We've got a 3 out of 10 on the Torcon for the rest of South Carolina. Places like Wilmington, North Carolina, and into the Outer Banks, as well as that Torcon of 3 around and south of the Jacksonville area. But again, I think, Mike, parts of North Carolina, Charlotte, really now eastward of Charlotte will be areas that we're focused on moving through the next few hours.
Because of that severe weather threat, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper signing a state of emergency today in advance of this severe weather, allowing movement of trucks and equipment to respond to emergencies and power outages. So being preemptive there, and hopefully we don't have to use them, but we know that severe weather is certainly in the cards, as Alex was showing us there on the radar. We know we're going to take you through this city by city to give you an idea of where the storms are going to be. I want to take you up around Richmond and Norfolk. We're going to time these storms out for you. There'll be clusters of storms here. We're at 7 o'clock this evening. I-64 is being hit. Portions, I think, of I-95 could be hit as well. Look at that cluster of storms now. Here we are just after dinner time. It's Richmond, it's Petersburg, getting hit pretty hard by these storms extending up through Chesapeake Bay. That line eventually races down toward the Norfolk and Hampton Roads area. Here we are now 11 o'clock, right over Chesapeake Bay. That storm may actually clip us here down in coastal Maryland, but I think overall the threat for you really is there, concentrated in Richmond. The storms may weaken slightly as they get over toward Norfolk. All right, for Charlotte, let's go through the evening tonight. For us, we've got the clusters of storms tonight, but they're going to be threatening for the remainder of the evening, I think for maybe the next 3 to 4 hours, and then I think they're going to be fleeting. The storms that come in, at least the showers that come in tomorrow morning, will be quick to come in and quick to exit. They should not be be severe, but they could affect your morning drive. Take you up around Greensboro, Chapel Hill, and Raleigh here around the Research Triangle. There's our line of storms this evening coming through around 7 o'clock right along I-40 here. Some of those storms could be severe as they race through Raleigh, likely around sunset or so, maybe a little bit before that. And then you can see these storms here now pushing their way eastbound along I-95. As we go through the overnight, maybe a few scattered showers. I think some of these storms that you see here just bring light to moderate rain. I don't think they become severe for you here, but just keep in mind that you're not done with the wet weather, at least just tonight. Down around Orlando, by the way, as this is the end of the front, you're going to see some of these storms come down around the villages around maybe 8 o'clock tonight. The storm's got a little punch to it around 10 or so right along I-4. Just something to keep an eye on here later on tonight. Alex?
All right, then we get you up to the Chicago area, parts of the Midwest getting in on rain. Not now in Chicago. You have seen that rain off to your south, so actually some blue sky peeking out. 41 degrees, though. It's cool, and we've got gusty winds along with those rain showers across many sections of the Midwest. Indianapolis gusting to 41 miles an hour. We've got gusts to 32 miles an hour in Fort Wayne. At times, though, jumping up into the 30, 40 mile per hour range. So I would say be prepared for gusts in that 25 to 45 mile per hour range through the remainder of today. That includes places like Cleveland and Detroit as well. You can see that rain focused over some of the same areas. Some heavy rain here on the north side of Indianapolis. That has left some flooding alerts and some more of that moderate rain working into these areas. A flood advisory currently in effect for Boone, Clinton, and Hamilton counties. This is until 10:30, and this does include Indianapolis. So we've seen some heavy rain. Some of those small creeks and streams may see water rises. Flood advisory, as I mentioned, but then we've actually got a little bit of snow mixing in at times. So cooler temperatures around Bellefontaine, some heavier accumulations. Radar estimated rain over the last 6 hours. Take a look at this, almost 6 inches north of Kokomo. So no question as to why we're seeing those problems, right? Almost an inch per hour. Anytime you're dealing with 6 inches, whether it's 6 hours or 12 hours, you're going to see some troubles. 4.1 inches here southeast side of Fort Wayne, well to the southwest of Lima, an inch and a half plus, and the wind alerts continue. So now we've got very soggy ground. We've got gusty winds. Watch for the possibility of some falling trees through this evening with wind advisories in effect from Milwaukee and Chicago down to Springfield, Indianapolis, even over to central Ohio. This would include the Columbus area. Mike, we track this out, and you can see the rain showers, again at times mixing with some snow there across parts of Ohio and eastern Indiana. Continues through the evening. By, I think, late this evening, we're generally looking at parts of Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia for some of that wet weather.
A lot of these places, they don't really consider winter to be over to about April 1st or so, right? Same for you in a place like Boston, 46 degrees for us right now. It's overcast. It's a little showery for us right now. Light, drizzly stuff. Well, it's about to get a lot heavier for us. And then guess what? It's going to snow. I'm not kidding, folks. You're going to get a little bit of snow on the tail end of this. Not unusual to get March snow, but we haven't had hardly any this month, only 0.1 inches for us in Boston. Now, we got some heavier rain here around Albany, Saratoga Springs, and then across to Massachusetts, including, north side of Boston. We're getting hit pretty hard here. So if you're driving between Manchester and Boston, it's pretty heavy rain this evening. Around Harrisburg, we've had spits of moderate rain, and then Philly, Trenton, New York, Newark, all these places getting wet tonight. There's some of that cold air now starting to dive down in, so you're now starting to see the changeover from rain to snow. Temperatures are going to be right on the edge for a lot of us here, so we're not going to get huge downpours here. It's not going to be fluffy snow. It's going to be wet snow. And look at the heavy rain, by the way, around Youngstown as well. So what's going on for us here with these temperatures? A lot of us in the 40s right now. Buffalo, we've chilled down into the 30s, but New York, we're at 44. Boston, we're at 47. You're like, is it going to snow? Well, the temperatures are going to cool enough that we think that, yes, you are going to see some snow. Here's how it times out for you here. The snow expands as that cold air really starts to dive its way south now. There's 8 o'clock this evening. You could see a little mix in Albany. And then notice maybe a little bit of that snow sticking around a little bit longer in places like Boston and Worcester, Hartford, maybe Providence, and out on the Cape as well. Not to mention at times could be a little bit windy as well. By tomorrow morning, everything is gone. Could we get about an inch of snow in Boston? Yes, it's possible. How much of that sticks? Probably not much, Alex, because first of all, everything's wet right now because it's rain, and surface temperatures are in the 40s, so most all of this does not stick around. Most all of it just melts on contact.
Well, that's good, at least, right? If you're going to get the snow, have it melt away. Well, the last 26 hours have been Kind of bananas, right? A verified tornado outbreak brought us scenes like this in Gardendale, Alabama. Scary stuff. People capturing tornadoes, damage in their neighborhoods, all thanks to a very potent system in our high-risk day that we were previewing or walking you through yesterday. This time yesterday, lots of warnings. Now, when we look at the thunderstorm, the tornado warnings, as well as the radar recap, you can see that there were a few states in particular, man, that saw a lot of the action, and that is Mississippi into Alabama. That's where a lot of our tornado warnings were, but don't want to discount southern Missouri, parts of southeastern Arkansas, northern and eastern Louisiana as well. 99 tornado warnings in all, 206 severe thunderstorm warnings, those going from Texas and Oklahoma into Florida, of course, the Carolinas today. Now, we look at our radar recap, and where we saw some of the most potent of the weather was across Mississippi and Alabama. You can see as those tornado reports begin to fire up. We start things off at 7 a.m., but through the afternoon yesterday, that's when they really became numerous in nature, and a lot of those damage reports and videos also started to come in. Now, of course, we're going through today and adding some more storm reports into the mix. Mike, of course, watching now parts of the Carolinas, and one of the strongest tornado reports that we've seen so far out of Chilton County, Alabama. Winds there 130 miles an hour. The tornado given an EF2 rating. Now, our crews caught up with one man who sheltered his entire family in the basement, including his sister, who barely made it to the safe spot in time.
My sister was down at the basement. She pulled up, tried to get out of her car, and it was just, the wind was just sucking her away. And my son, Trent, went out the door, grabbed a hold of her, and jerked her through the basement door, got her in there. He was pulling on both of them, but he got them back in the corner where we were, and when it hit, I mean,
His house suffered major damage, but everybody who stayed in the safe shelter is doing well. So, Mike, here's the scenario of a guy doing everything right, and look at how the story ends.
Yeah. So for a lot of people, finding that safe location in your home is vitally important, right? We showed just a little bit ago the aerial view of this tornado near Silas, right? Boy, this is amazing, isn't it? You can see the main cone tornado right here. It's a large tornado, but then notice the horizontal vortices that are right about in here and how these also are spinning. It's just amazing. The clear whole mesoscale rotation like this with the funnel coming out the middle is stunning, isn't it? And you often will see, and I think you over here, you see one little satellite tornado in there, multi-vortices right in there as well. And then look at these little tendrils or satellite tornadoes that are trying to form as well. Big updraft flow there that you can clearly see. Just a classic tornado, truly. The good thing, if you look at the landscape here, mostly enforced there. Boy, you can see just the multi-vortices within that. Look at that right there. You can kind of see different delineations of the tornado itself. What a view, Alex, huh?
Absolutely. Just eerie yet incredible. Well, coming up on the show, we continue to track those strong storms moving through parts of the Carolinas tonight. Tornado warnings around Greensboro and the Charlotte metro area. We take a look at this one in Greensboro. It's Guilford and Randolph counties. This one quickly moving to the north and east. You can see how fast it is moving. We get you down towards areas on the southeast side of Charlotte. We continue with a tornado warning here for parts of Mecklenburg, Union, and Cabarrus counties.
Hush it.
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful.
There's lots of things that can go wrong.
The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road. You just hope you make it. It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
Welcome back into Weather Underground. We are watching the radar and the roads in Winnsboro, South Carolina. Here you can see the rain coming down. So portions of the southeast, North and South Carolina continuing to be in that threat zone for severe weather. Currently, our active warnings just over the state line here into North Carolina. And that includes both the Charlotte and the Greensboro metro area. So I want to start things off for you closer to the Charlotte area. You can see Cabarrus, Mecklenburg, and Union counties under this tornado warning. Perhaps some hail out of this one, and some signs that we may actually have seen a little bit of debris lofted up into this storm. So whether that's damage to structures or trees, hard to tell at this point, but you can see that area of rotation just on the northeast side of the Mint Hill area. So when we keep that area highlighted right here over 485 and we look for signs of rotation, now we're not seeing it, but we go back a scan or two and you can see that very clear pixel a little bit skirted away from the area of rotation, but still we could be looking at some of that debris that's higher up in the storm. So that area of rotation right there around Mint Hill, that debris getting lofted, so slightly offset. Cabarrus, Georgeville, and Finger and Bloomington. These are some of the communities in the path of the storm, whether or not you're in the tornado warning. Finger not, but Georgeville, Cabarrus, Clear Creek, you guys are in the path of this storm. Cabarrus, 5:26 local time. We take you up to the north here around the Greensboro area, and that storm right now into the Greensboro area. It's Guilford and Randolph counties under this radar indicated tornado warning. In addition, again, hail could be a possibility. Our area of rotation just to the south of Greensboro, really that whole area, maybe broadening a bit. You can see pretty noticeable a few frames back. Now that it's made its way to Greensboro, becoming a bit more broad in rotation, but I don't want you to go, well, okay, then things look better for me. Lowest level, most interior room. As I mentioned, if you know somebody who might be out on the roads, it is late day commute time. Give them a buzz. Say, hey, stay in the office a few minutes if you haven't gotten in the car yet, and if you have, I want you to head that way, away from the storm. McLeansville, 528, Gibsonville, 538, and then 543 for Altamahaw. Stony Creek at 554, and right at the top of the hour for Anderson. I mentioned that tornado watch that remains in effect for a few counties into the upstate of South Carolina, right along the 77 corridor, then into central and northeastern North Carolina, as well as the Norfolk, Virginia area. Watching portions of southeast Virginia for the possibility of some strong storms. This tornado watch in effect until 9 o'clock local time. But Dr. Knabb, we saw that rain in that driving shot from our storm tracker. So that, of course, also a big issue out there with the storms, blinding rain at times.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, well, pretty soon we're just going to get rid of this system and say goodbye, but not completely, because it's going to leave behind a front that's coming through Florida, and that front's going to sit out here over the Atlantic. And we could get another coastal low to form, another low pressure system, not this strong, but a system close to the coast. And that gives me an excuse to show sea surface temperatures. I know it's a couple of months from hurricane season, but there's going to be warm water out here, but probably not warm enough to let a low that tries to form off the coast to become tropical, and probably not even subtropical, probably have frontal characteristics. But I will mention that the waters are a little bit warmer than average here off the southeast coast. There will be some fuel to help this system form. Watch what happens as our severe weather system departs, and look at these colors, this low-level spin when we get to Sunday. That's the front that is remaining over the Atlantic, and that can be, as we know in the early part of hurricane season, an impetus for spin to start. And that's going to happen, we think, but it's probably still going to be frontal, but it's going to be very close to the coasts of South Carolina and North Carolina through next Tuesday before it finally kind of fizzles and moves out. And then when you look at what's going to go on at the surface, here goes our front, and you can see that off the East Coast on Friday. But then look at the front lingering off the southeast coast south of our high. That means a big pressure gradient aimed at the coast. At the very least, that combination is going to make for some high surf and rip currents along the southeast coast late this weekend and early next week. But this broad area of low pressure that will probably form along the front is going to linger there close enough to the coast to bring some windy conditions and some rain. Like Alex was talking about, it's going to be returning to this part of the country through about next Tuesday, and then it'll be moving out, and then we got to watch the next system coming in. So the next several days will be windy, especially starting Saturday. Look at those east to northeast winds gusting 30, 35, maybe as much as 40 miles an hour at times, Alex.
Back to those tornado warnings across the state of North Carolina. Around the Charlotte area, also some hail reports coming out of this storm, and we're seeing signs on the radar. So once you get into that magenta color, you know you're up against some hail. Cabarrus, Mecklenburg, Union counties under that tornado warning. Still showing signs that we've got good rotation here. Again, radar indicated crossing over 485 shortly, then headed off towards the east. And Greensboro, North Carolina, you are in some heavy downpours. Remain under a tornado warning until the top of the hour.
With every cup, we call.
Welcome back to Weather Underground. New video to show you the storms passing by Rock Hill, South Carolina. Pretty intense storm here. This is just across the state line from North Carolina and Charlotte. This storm had a severe thunderstorm warning on it, and the storm may actually have also produced a tornado in North Carolina. We see the low hanging wall cloud here, possibly even rotation within that, but you see a site like that, obviously it gets your attention, right? Well, we've got a lot of severe weather to talk about this evening, and glad you're with us tonight because we've got numerous warnings out there, and we're here to keep you informed and keep you safe.
Welcome you back into Weather Underground on this Thursday. Already been an exceptionally busy week of weather, Mike, and tonight no exception.
North Carolina, Virginia, even these storms will track back down through Florida tonight, so a lot of different places to keep an eye on.
A lot of populated areas need to be on alert. In fact, some of them right now. We look at the Charlotte metro area. On the east side of town is where we've seen that tornado warning continue. Cabarrus, Mecklenburg, and Union counties are the counties in this warning. It's a radar-indicated rotation. And again, still seeing that just off to the west of the Midland area. So we're getting closer and closer to the edge of our warning. And we're going to see if that continues to be extended. Some hail reports also coming out of this storm. But again, we watch that area of rotation go from around the Mint Hill area over towards Midland. So we've been following this storm for some time. A potent storm that's also produced some hail and again, strong rainfall rates. Midland, 5:30. So right now, you need to be in your safe spot in Locust. That storm coming your way at 5:37. Bloomington at 5:48. And just around the top of the hour for Albemarle, Bloomington, Albemarle, even Locust. We'll see if that warning is extended and continues for your area. A closer look up into the Greensboro area where we continue under a tornado warning here in Guilford County. Really Greensboro and areas to the north would be the areas to watch. Maybe getting a little area of rotation showing up there on the northeast side of Greensboro. All in all, looking more and more like this storm was becoming more of a wind event, a straight line wind event, but definitely still seeing some of that rotation right along, I guess it's the 73 stretch right near 29. So McLeansville, Altamahaw, Matkins, and Anderson, you guys are in the path of this storm. Some of you not in the tornado warning, but if I've read your town's name, get to that lowest level, most interior room, as this storm is tornado warned now and could at least continue to be a potent wind maker. May still remain warned. We'll see if that gets extended by the local National Weather Service office. Our tornado watch remains in effect until 9 o'clock local time. So we're watching really central parts of North Carolina, the northeastern part of the state, and even a little bit of southeastern Virginia. We've seen some of the South Carolina counties trimmed away, but still that 77 corridor around Rock Hill, closer to Columbia. I think it's Newberry County there that we continue under that tornado watch. Mike?
All right, we know they've got some rain, got some wind moving through the Midwest. Hello to you in Columbus, Ohio. 48 degrees right now, a little breezy, rainy, just not a fun evening, that's for sure. Some areas across the Buckeye State where some of your rain's even mixing with some snow. How fun is that? Everyone in Ohio, everyone in Columbus, It's your Buckeyes tomorrow. You're looking forward to March Madness and sitting back at home and just you don't care about the weather. Just let me watch TV and watch some basketball, right? A lot of us are doing that. Look at these winds, really intense here through the Midwest. In Indianapolis, our winds have been gusting up to 45 miles an hour. Here sits the low. We've got a pretty good pressure gradient going on right now, so this is why we have all the wind. But you can see some heavier showers right now, including around Kokomo and Fort Wayne, Boone, Clinton, and Hamilton counties are under flash flood or flood advisories right now, I should say, as those showers are pretty persistent today. Now, it's right here along I-70 in particular is the area where the heavy rain sets up for you here in north central Ohio and up around Cleveland. You could get a little bit of rain mixed with snow. But look at these winds. They could be 40, 50 miles an hour. Indy and Columbus, 30, 35 in St. Louis and Detroit. So hold on to your hats tonight, folks. It is going to be really windy night tonight, and hopefully you can just be home and safe, but certainly watch for trees around your property for branches to come down. I think that could be a likelihood, and maybe even some brief power outages as well. Let's follow the whole system over into the northeast. Some heavier rain around Albany, Saratoga Springs, Worcester, and Boston tonight. Some showers for you down around State College and Pittsburgh and down around Washington, D.C. as well. Temperature sitting at 53 degrees. Eventually, though, we're getting some cold air that dives down in on this. Look at the snow already on the back side of that starting to form here. A thin little line. And guess what? Parting shot for you in Boston. There it is. Right now looking for roughly an inch of snow to come down for us in Boston, but I don't think hardly any of that sticks, Alex.
Yeah, I like winter, just giving you a reminder that it's still only March, right? Well, coming up on Weather Underground, taking you to some of the communities hardest hit by yesterday's tornado outbreak as they pick up the pieces in the wake of these damaging storms.
Oh boy.
And we continue to track strong storms right now, including a new tornado warning in the state of Virginia, seeing some severe warnings there as well as storms fire a torcon of 3 in southeastern Virginia. We're going to get you a look at the radar. These storms around Emporia, watching Southampton and Sussex County.
Stouffer's mac and cheese is made with 100% real cheese.
So
Continue to track strong storms for you tonight, including tornado warnings across North Carolina and Virginia as well. Up around Emporia, Virginia, tornado warning here in Greensville, Southampton, and Sussex counties right now, and headed right for Druryville. Right there's the rotation, headed off in this direction, off to the northeast tonight, coming right across Highway 58, we believe, momentarily. So want you to be in your safe spot this evening. Get to the lowest level of your home, ground level, and find an interior room to be in away from windows and exterior walls. If you've got a basement, it's also a fantastic place for you to be right now. As we track this out, could be there around Capron here around 5:54 and Cortland around 6:07. So you've got a little bit of time in those locations, but think about where you're going to go right now and think about getting there relatively soon. Alamance and Guilford counties right now in North Carolina under tornado warnings as well, including the towns of Burlington, up around Caswell and Rockingham counties. We also have a tornado warning here that could be coming near Anderson. There's the rotation right in there. That's going to also move its way to the north and east this evening. So again, get to your safe spot as quickly as you can tonight with these tornado warnings that are in effect around Clover Garden around 5:56, Stony Creek around 6:02 this evening. We've had the storm down around Charlotte as well. That storm is pushing off to the east of Charlotte at this point, but a couple of different tornado warnings tonight. Those are the latest ones. Again, we're probably going to see more tornado warnings through the evening tonight. Be aware of that and make sure you're able to take shelter. Again, look at that warning right there. Also has some hail on it, by the way, so Burlington, Graham, and Mabane here. Also, make sure you're taking shelter right now. Alex?
All right, we'll want to return to our coverage of yesterday's severe and tornado outbreak that really continues into today. NOAA satellites capturing last night's storm in a 24-hour time lapse. You can see those cloud tops exploding. You can also really clearly make out the shear, those lower level winds moving from south to north, where the upper level winds moving more of a west to east direction. So pretty incredible stuff. And of course, we're still monitoring the storms out there now. Then we've got this, a huge wedge tornado, really a cone tornado, I guess, over Silas, Alabama. You can see that well-defined shape there. And as Mike pointed out, some of the horizontal vortices coming off of it right above my head. So pretty incredible, the views that you get from these drones. The drones offer up some really interesting insight, obviously a view that we don't get from the ground. But again, we talk about what it did on the ground in Mountainville, Alabama. Here, a security camera capturing the moment that these sheds are destroyed. So you can see a few sheds in this backyard. The tornado peels the roof off one, splinters it into pieces, and we see some of that other debris flying before the other shed just flipped over and squashed. The National Weather Service says this was an EF0 tornado or EF1 tornado that did that damage. And it wasn't just tornadoes that we were watching and warning you about. A severe thunderstorm bringing a huge blast of wind and rain. Check it out on these security cameras. These are really something because they give us, again, an interesting perspective from when we're in our safe spot. What's it like outside and why we're in our safe spot in many cases. That wind just blowing the rain sideways here in Columbus, Mississippi. That just one of the other communities that we were monitoring. In Selma, Alabama, a city that could not escape the storms. We were talking about Selma several times through the day, and all over town, this was the scene. Tree limbs down, in some cases, trees down, a lot of debris being cleared up today. And Dr. Nab, southeast still getting it on the rain, and that combination of rain and wind, never a good thing for trees.
Not at all, and especially in the part of the country so forested, trees often play a big role in the damage that is caused. Now, this big system that has produced all this severe weather isn't going to completely leave us as we go into the weekend. Mostly it will, but not completely. This middle upper level low, there's a tail end of it that's going to kind of hang around over the southeast, and the front that's going through Florida and a reinforcing front behind that, that's going to hang out over the southeast and just offshore. So those things are going to combine to produce a system that's hanging very close to the southeast coast. Watch how this plays out in the middle and upper levels. You see how we still have troughing here in the southeast on Sunday, kind of the leftover tail end of the big system that's leaving. And all these colors, that's the built-in spin at low levels of the front that doesn't quite get all the way through Florida and hangs out here just off the southeast. I know when you get to the beginning of hurricane season, it's certainly the case that these old fronts can generate some spin, and that will happen here, but it's probably going to stay frontal. This is not likely to be a tropical system, but still one that hangs out through early next week before finally departing during the middle of next week. But if you look at what's going to go on at the surface, there's going to be some wind impacts, beach impacts, and some rain impacts. So here's the tail end of the front tomorrow. Then you get the broad area of low pressure to the south, high moving into the northeast, and that pressure gradient in between means onshore flow, rip currents, high surf, beach erosion. Saturday, Sunday, and then on Monday, as the low perhaps strengthens and moves northward, then North Carolina really gets in the coastal area some rain and wind. So, Mike, it's mostly going to be a beach problem and a coastal problem, but just a little taste of what can happen as we get closer to hurricane season.
Huge bummer of a weekend for a lot of places there. Dr. Knapp, thank you. Still to come on Weather Underground. Another spring storm on the way, and so is more snow. We're going to show you where winter's making a big-time comeback. Plus, more on our top story, a dangerous night of severe thunderstorms ongoing right now. The latest on the timing and who's at risk when Weather Underground comes back, including the latest on the warnings across North Carolina and Virginia.
Lean.
Coming up at 8 p.m. right after Weather Underground, it's another dramatic episode of Highway Through Hell. Tonight, the team faces tough rescues in even tougher locations.
This time on Highway Through Hell.
Oh my God.
A wreck on the rocks puts Team Reliable
I really don't like standing here.
up against a wall.
Hold on. Stop!
A blowdown on a bridge
Take it a little bit.
stretches
Here, Craig.
Ken's crew.
Okay.
And all new off-road terrain
Here we go.
tests Jamie.
Oh, no, no, no.
That is Highway Through Hell. You can see it right after Weather Underground 8/7 Central. Mike?
Well, it was just a few days ago that we got buried in Denver under 2 feet of snow. There's 27 inches. That's March for you, isn't it? But now look at you, blue skies. A lot of that snow has melted away. Although checking your latest depth, you still have 8 inches of snow technically on the ground. Oh, you're melting more of that each and every day. 38 degrees of sunshine goes a long way. But of course, just wait a day and things will change. So you went from epic snowstorm back to sunshine, relatively mild. Now you're going to go, believe it or not, back to some snow. See the white that's on this map? That's your snow cover right now. Plenty of it, too, by the way, up in Wyoming. The white that's moving, those are clouds, but the white that's stationary, that's where the snow is, and that's where that was the big footprint there of Winter Storm Xylia. All right, so what's going on here with the weather in the days to come? We're about to get hammered again on top of what we've already received. This is your March 1st, since March 1st snowfall. In some places, the highest elevations, 5 feet of snow, but Denver up toward Cheyenne, we had 2 to 3 feet of snow. It was something, that's for sure. Let's fast forward. Saturday through Tuesday as the next system rolls in. How about this? Another bullseye on us here in the Colorado Rockies. Denver, we could be looking at another 5 to 8 inches of snow. A little different setup this time. If you remember with the last week's storm, the one we had over the weekend, we basically had a low that sat about right here, and it's really funneled in a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. But with high pressure and a different trajectory of air, we're going to limit the amount of moisture that we have this time. So that may provide us, and this is a little quicker moving system, that may provide us a little bit less in the way of snow. However, all you need is some cold air and a little bit of moisture. We're going to have the cold air because look at this. Big undulation in the jet stream brings that cold air down in from Canada, a little bit of moisture in place, and you have yourself some snow. And oftentimes there in the mountains, you can maximize the snow because of the orographic lift, right? So there we go. Especially Sunday into Monday, we get some pretty good snow here. Even on Tuesday, I think we have some lingering snow across the Rockies, stretching, by the way, over into western and central Nebraska. So the Sandhills get hit, North Platte, you could be looking for some snow. Then that system on the move, and Dr. Knapp, could prove to be a pretty wet system, too.
Oh, it certainly could. That we know is the name of the game in spring. And when you see this big of a system off the Pacific Northwest, you know something's coming on to the continental United States. It's just hard too many days in advance to predict who exactly is going to get the most rain and how much of a severe threat there will be east of the Rockies. But let's take a look at what the Euro's doing just to give us a flavor of what could happen. So this would be system number 1's coming in the Pacific Northwest. The Euro has something off the coast there on Sunday. That would, I would say, be system number 2 that could be in play as we get into next week. So system number 1 could get to the southern plains and the lee of the Rockies on Monday. And you know that often leads to lee cyclogenesis east of the mountains. And that could be the setup for storms in the middle of the country Monday into Tuesday. And then system number 2 might pivot around that one. And at least this latest Euro model run has that system eventually coming even farther south along the Gulf Coast. So that could be a rainy setup for the southeast. But that's just the general idea in the pattern. That's the part that the models are good at. The details, this gets a little harder. Here's our surface low in the lee of the Rockies Sunday into Monday. This could be a setup, a dry line kind of setup Monday into Monday night. If this plays out, something close to this where we could have storms in Texas late into the night moving eastward. And you can see the instability ahead of a dry line that the Euro is depicting for Monday evening. So that's a typical setup in spring. Details yet to be determined. A little bit of wind shear there, so that could play out somewhat like that. And then Tuesday, the general pattern is for that first low to move northeastward, and then that puts the lower Mississippi Valley back in play for at least some rainfall. And then our next system tries to get going, but that would be a later in the week thing. So a little bit of instability on Tuesday, a little bit of wind shear also. Doesn't look like it's anywhere near what we had this week, but it's early yet, Alex. And then we could have a lot of rain along the Gulf Coast middle to latter part of next week. This is spring for you. It's busy.
Yes, absolutely. Spring is busy and messy and usually damp. So it's what we've got, right? Well, coming up next on Weather Underground, another hour headed your way. We are tracking dangerous storms pushing through the southeast and a look at communities hard hit by yesterday's tornado outbreak. And of course, we are monitoring active severe weather right now into parts of North Carolina and Virginia.
Next on Weather Underground, an onslaught of severe weather. The Deep South blitzed by tornadoes. Mississippi and Alabama hit hard. More than 2 dozen twisters reported, including scenes like this from the air. And then on the ground, dangerous storms tearing through neighborhoods, damaging homes and businesses.
And survivors will recall the frightening moment a tornado struck.
My sister was down at the basement. She pulled up, tried to get out of her car, and it was just, the wind was just sucking her away. And my son, Trent, ran out the door, grabbed a hold of her, and jerked her through.
We have the very latest from hard-hit communities as they survey the damage left behind. And the danger not over yet. We're closely watching storms spreading across the southeast right now. The Carolinas, Florida, and Virginia, the targets this time. It's all right now on Weather Underground.
Glad you're with us tonight for Weather Underground. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson, tracking another threat of severe weather from Florida into the Carolinas. And strong winds and rain are making their mark on the Midwest. And, oh, there's still some snow out there, too.
A lot of different areas of the country we're following. We've got some very diverse weather, no question about that. All right, you've got to see what happened for us, folks, across South Carolina today. Clear as day, in-minute severe weather threat. Fort Mill, South Carolina, the location. We had a tornado that potentially came right through the southern side of Charlotte, by the way. But new video to show you from Archdale, North Carolina, of a tornado. Looks like that's a possible tornado right there. We've had numerous places in North Carolina. We've had tornado warnings today, but the skies are dark. Hard to tell for sure, obscured by the building there, whether or not we've got something touching the ground there. And then Charlotte, let's take a look at the storms in Charlotte. There's a look. Well, that sure looks like a tornado, doesn't it? I mean, it's hard to tell if that's rotating because you're looking at a tower cam from a long way away. But we did have a tornado warning south side of Charlotte coming past the Carowinds, Pineville, and Matthews. And that severe weather risk is not ending, that's for sure.
Yeah, we've got northern North Carolina now in the zone, and even parts of southeastern Virginia, areas that we're watching very, very closely as we have active warnings still in play. So our line of storms making its way closer and closer to the coast, but still a few hours to go in terms of strong storms. Here on the east side of Greensboro, a tornado warning. This is moving out of Raleigh's area and into Wakeville, Virginia's National Weather Service office. So we've got Durham County, Orange, and Person counties under this tornado warning. These storms are moving very quickly, around 40 miles an hour, and that area of rotation, whoop, there we go, into areas between Burlington and Mebane, North Carolina. Again, we're advancing closer and closer to the Virginia state line, but here, this is the northeast part of the state of North Carolina. This storm will continue to move off to the north and east around 40 miles per hour. So Carr, you would be up next at 6:07, McDade at 6:11, 6:16 for Gordonton, and then Bushy Fork at 6:20 local time. So plenty of communities in the path of this one. Again, it's, you know, that late day commute at dinner time. So if you know somebody who may not be somewhere where they're getting the warning, give them a call. And if you're waiting on somebody to return home, count on them being perhaps a few minutes later. Anderson, you're also looking at a strong storm moving through High Towers, Frogsboro, Leesburg, and Olive Hill. So looking at this storm, we've got at least the severe warning advancing closer to it. And you can see for areas south and east of Anderson, we've got that tornado warning. The north side, gusty winds and hail within that the communities north and east of Anderson. Here, Alamance, Guilford, and Randolph counties under a severe thunderstorm warning. Tornado possible with this one, but currently being warned upon for the very gusty winds that it's bringing. And again, these storms are moving quickly, around 40 miles an hour. We get you up into Virginia. These storms are going to be worthy of keeping an eye on. You can see that little appendage off of both of them. This one for Southampton and Sussex counties, right along 35 north of Highway 58. Likely getting in on some heavy rain and perhaps even some hail out of this one. We're going to be watching this storm moving off towards the east, so they keep that severe warning going. And up to the Newport News area, we've got the city of Hampton, Newport News, and Poquoson under a severe thunderstorm warning, as well as Isle of Wight County and York County here until 6:45 local time. Hail, very, very heavy rain. I mean, we're talking torrential rain and frequent lightning. So if you know anybody who's traveling on 64, it's going to be a rough go here over the next 15 to 30 minutes. And plenty of lightning mean if you are in that warning, even more reason to stay inside. 84 strikes here within the last 15 minutes. So we've got a lot of lightning in the area, and this falls on the eastern fringe of our tornado watch zone until 9 o'clock local time. We'll be watching communities from central North Carolina now over into Virginia. Mike, at last check, we finally dropped the Charlotte area, also portions of the 77 corridor there in the state of South Carolina, and no active watches currently in Florida either.
Well, in North Carolina, because of the active weather, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper declaring a state of emergency in advance of that weather to make equipment and response emergencies available in case of especially power outages. So good to know there. But I want to go through the forecast here. Let's start up into the Richmond and Hampton Roads area. You can see rounds of storms now. It's just showing some of these on the radar. They're going to be there for the next couple of hours. I think Richmond really gets hit hard between, say, 8 and 10 o'clock tonight. Those storms could slide their way eastbound then, hit us again, down 64 and around Norfolk again, then out here on the beaches through Maryland. I think we're going to hit later on tonight. A few scattered showers overnight. I don't think those are going to be a big deal, just rain. The big show is the next couple of hours. Around Charlotte, we've already had the big storm that came through. Could we get more overnight tonight? Yes, I think we're going to get a few showers that come in from the north here. I don't think any of those are severe overnight tonight, but the pavement could be wet as you head out in the morning. All right, so take you over toward Chapel Hill, Durham, and Raleigh. Storms lining up for us this evening, and those will race their way eastbound, eventually getting toward 95, probably over Raleigh around 7, 8 o'clock tonight, and then could linger for a bit, but then the storms are probably going to dissipate a little bit as they head toward I-95. I think that's good news there. And then the forecast overnight does bring in a few more showers. I think moderate to heavy rain could be anticipated for a brief period of time. I don't think these will be severe, but they could at times cause some flooding, considering we've already had some pretty good storms today. Then down through Florida, some storms along I-4 here between Orlando and Daytona Beach this evening. And then you can see some of these storms around the villages as well. Then sliding south along I-4 once again. Here we are at 10 o'clock at night between, say, Tampa, Winter Haven, and Orlando. We have more storms that heading down through Kissimmee, Titusville, and eventually through Melbourne here overnight tonight while you're sleeping. Those storms could potentially produce some pretty good lightning and thunder here and some brief gusty winds. Alex?
Take you up into the parts of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, where we've got rain, we've got wind, and we've got snow. Now, not for Chicago. You've got the wind. You can see that camera kind of shaking up and down. Temperatures in the low 40s, so giving you a sense of what we're dealing with temperature-wise. And some areas have seen some of that rain change over to snow. Right now, we've got rain moving through parts of Indiana and Ohio, but again, seeing more blue breaking out here into parts of western Ohio, northern Ohio, and eastern sections of Indiana. But look at those winds gusting anywhere from 20 to 30 miles an hour around Columbus and Louisville. St. Louis gusting over 30 miles an hour along with Indianapolis, although at last check, Indianapolis has gusted as high as 43 miles an hour, and also seeing some of those stronger 40-plus mile-per-hour gusts up towards Detroit and Cleveland over the last several hours. Peoria, your winds have been backing off. Chicago gusting 40 to 50 miles an hour this afternoon with a sustained wind around 32 miles an hour at last check. So it's active, it's windy, and unfortunately it's rainy with more rain falling over some areas that have already seen quite a bit of rain. So we're underneath that upper low. So we've got some persistent rain showers that have been sticking with us, and flood advisories in effect for Boone, Clinton, and Hamilton counties, including the city of Indianapolis until 10:30. You can see more rain falling as we speak over this area, and some moderate rain in spots. So those creeks, those streams may be running high, and we could even see some water on the roadway, something to keep in mind. There's that snow beginning to mix in. Look at the rainfall footprint that we've had across this area. Areas north of Kokomo, 5.5 inches of rain over the last 6 hours. Here on the southeast side of Fort Wayne, 3.9 inches over 6 hours. So again, no question as to why we're seeing some of those troubles when it comes to flooding. And the wind advisories remain in effect, so that could, of course, impact travel, driving those high-profile vehicles with wind advisories in effect through this evening, Mike.
Alex, thanks for that. And we've had plenty of rain today in the Northeast, especially around Boston. It's 45 degrees for us right now. Really cloudy skies. We got some fog out there and the showers. The really heavy rain is north side of Boston and along the Mass Pike as well. And some of this, believe it or not, will eventually go over to snow. I know I know we haven't had much of this March and you thought you were going to escape. Maybe not scot-free, okay? You can see where the heavy showers are right now from Saugerties over toward, well, between Boston and Manchester tonight. Harrisburg, we have the rain. Allentown, Stroudsburg over toward Philly. The heavier rain now is Youngstown over around Williamsport. There's the snow now starting to creep in there as the colder air is eating away here, okay? So there's the snow this evening. And that's the cold air coming in from Canada. So as everything pushes its way south and east, so does some of that cold air. And look where it sticks around. Down here in the higher elevations, Maryland, West Virginia. And then right here, I think we get just enough cold air that you get a quick shot of snow in maybe a Hartford, Worcester, Boston, Providence, and out on the Cape. Is a lot of snow? No. Maybe an inch. But the thing is, temperatures are pretty warm right now in the 40s. Pavement temperatures are pretty warm in the 40s. It's wet right now, so as that snow falls, everything's going to melt. So I wouldn't be all that worried about this, but it's snow for show here with about an inch coming your way. Maybe over toward Bradford, PA, we get some snow as well. Boston, so for the season, we're pretty much right on target for how much we'd expect to have had so far. Our average last date of snow is March 29th. It's only 11 days from now, folks. Last year, we had to wait all the way till April 18th before the snow ended. But ultimately, Alex, I don't think this really adds up to be much of anything in Boston.
Yeah, snow for show, as Tom Nizzle used to say, right? The last 26 hours have been very busy, crazy busy, some may say. A verified tornado outbreak brought scenes like this in Gardendale, Alabama. You can see that tornado off in the distance. A lot of unease yesterday, even with all the tornado sirens going off. So those kind of days, there's a feel for sure. And then when you get the warnings going, your apps or your phone's going nuts and you hear those sirens, it can be scary. Then you see videos like this in towns near yours. So let's work through what we had out there yesterday in terms of severe warnings. We had 99 tornado warnings, 200 plus severe thunderstorm warnings, all the way from parts of the south central to the southeastern states. Most of our tornado warnings focused over Alabama and the state of Mississippi. So that was that corridor where we saw a lot of the action. We started things off during the morning hours of the 16th with some of those storms focused across sections of the south central U.S. So getting into Oklahoma, Dallas, plenty of wind and hail reports. Then we wake up yesterday morning and we begin an even more active day unfolding across parts of the deep south. So Louisiana, southern Arkansas, getting into Mississippi and Alabama. And that's again where we saw most of our tornado warnings. And of course, today we're watching parts of the Carolinas as storms continue to slide through parts of central North Carolina and even southeast Virginia. And one of the strongest tornado reports that we have seen so far out of Chilton County, Alabama. Winds there 130 miles an hour. That tornado given an EF2 rating. Now our crews caught up with one man who sheltered in his entire family in the basement, including his sister who barely made it in time.
My sister was down at the basement. She pulled up, tried to get out of her car, and it was just, the wind was just sucking her away. And my son, Trent, went out the door, grabbed a hold of her, and jerked her through the basement door, got her in there. He was pulling on both of them, but he got them back in the corner where we were. And when it hit, I mean, it was just a mess. It destroyed everything around here.
Cox tells us his house suffered major damage, but everyone who stayed in that safe shelter is doing well today. So, Mike, a case of why we tell you that lowest level, most interior room here, he did the right thing and everybody's okay.
Saved your life, but you see how kind of the brick facade of the homes got caved in, the walls are caved in, you see big pieces of like appliances that have been tossed. I mean, that's some scary stuff, but you can survive these tornadoes if you're in the right place, that's for sure. We've got some amazing views to show you folks of a tornado from the air. This shot by a drone near Silas, Alabama. This is just an amazing view. There's your cone right in there, clear as day. Got some wild horizontal rotations in here. You can see the overall spiraling counterclockwise rotation of the mesocyclone itself. Again, look at that spiraling there. It's kind of horizontal roll that we're getting right now. And if you look down here, I want you to pay close attention down here, you'll end up seeing how the tornado becomes striated and likely multiple vortices within the parent tornado, but they might be obscured at times because of the condensation funnel itself. You got a tendril right over here, but again, pay close attention down in here. You'll see it at times. See right there? Different little striations, and you'll see also really violently moving upward air if you watch the clouds very closely as well. I think it's just a fascinating view, and all kinds of weird ropiness going on in here. Boy, these things can do some fascinating things. Look at that. Isn't that something? But there you see multiple vortices down toward the bottom. I count at least 3 or 4 in there. And then another view for you here close up. And this will really show you the intimate nature of this. You'll see multiple spins, and this is actually very, very common, believe it or not, in tornadoes to have multiple vortices within them. It'd be common not to have one, but now that we've got such detailed video and radar these days, you can see numerous spins within the parent circulation itself and lots of power flashes as well, hitting lots of power lines and lots of debris flying up into the air as well. Alex?
A lot happening yesterday, and of course still watching those storms today. So coming up on Weather Underground, we are tracking strong storms moving through parts of North Carolina and Virginia this evening, monitoring for not just tornadoes but also hail and gusty winds. This tornado warning in Caswell County, North Carolina, a radar indicated tornado moving northeast around 40 miles an hour.
Kids
It was just living in the moment of disbelief.
Oh my God!
We really were caught off guard.
We couldn't leave. We were stuck there.
There was going to be nothing we could do except try to make it through safely.
That is the most scared that I have felt in my life.
Oh my God!
It's surreal.
Holy!
I want to get you to some new video coming into us out of High Point, North Carolina. Here you can see some of that damage to the trees. This is a tornado-warned storm as it moved through parts of the Triad region here of North Carolina, and going to have a lot of tree cleanup to do at the least. That's not the only area we're hearing of issues. Also around the Gibsonville, Elon College area, some reports of wind damage from these storms that continue to roll through. So again, falling trees, tree limbs over roadways will be a continued threat here moving through the remainder of this evening. We look at the warnings that we currently have. We've got several severe thunderstorm warnings across Virginia and North Carolina, and our continued tornado warned storm moving into parts of northeastern North Carolina, northeast of the Greensboro area. So we're looking at Durham and Orange and Person counties here. Radar indicated tornado, probably seeing some hail too, where you saw that pink shade of color on the radar. Again, our area of rotation to the south and west of Bushy Fork. This is going to be moving towards the Mount Terza area. And again, we're looking at where the reds and the greens meet up. So just here off to the west of Bushy Fork or southwest of Bushy Fork. And these storms have been moving pretty quickly, around 40 to 50 miles per hour. So again, they are moving rapidly. They're going to be moving faster in some cases on these local roads than you're going to be able to outdrive them. So Roxborough, you're up next at 6:29. So you get a sense of how far we are from that area of circulation and how much ground that's going to cover in about 10 minutes. Then we'll be looking at communities headed up into northern North Carolina and into southern Virginia. Elon College, as I mentioned, overturned and damaged bus from thunderstorm winds there. In Gibsonville, we've got roofs off houses, multiple trees down around Ethan's Way or along Ethan's Way. So High Point, we showed you the video. That is to the south south and west of these communities as this tornado warned storm has continued off to the east of Greensboro, continued to bring damage. And here in Alamance and Orange counties, we are watching a severe thunderstorm warning. This is going to be moving into the Chapel Hill area. So I'm sure a lot of you guys watching some of the basketball ongoing, make sure you know your safe spot. Get to that safe spot if need be. We've got Carborough and Melville in addition to Chapel Hill, in addition to gusty winds. I think you could be getting some hail out of this one. This one is going to be approaching the Chapel Hill area around 6:40. Durham, North Carolina, of course, home of Duke, at 6:49 local time. So we're getting into a lot of these college areas. We've already seen problems at Elon College. Now we'll be watching Chapel Hill and Durham for some strong gusty winds. Up here into parts of Virginia, 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. This one for Isle of Wight and Southampton counties. Tornado possible with this one, but definitely getting in on those strong winds and the potential for hail. And here around the Poquoson area, probably seeing some hail there as we speak, and very, very heavy rain on the north side of Newport News. Dr. Nab, that heavy rain has been causing plenty of trouble today and over the past few days. You know, we get strong winds, a lot of rain, trees come down. It's a problem that we've seen across a lot of the southeast.
And what gets people into trouble with all of those things usually being on the roads?
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Well, at least we're going to mostly get rid of this system over the next few days, but not completely, and especially coastal areas of North Carolina southward to Florida will feel some onshore flow, some winds, some dangerous beach conditions. Let me show you what happens to this overall system. We have that middle upper level low that's very powerful moving out, but it's got a tail end of it that'll hang around over the southeast, and our surface low is going to depart, but this front is going to kind of hang out off the southeast coast. So watch how this plays out in the European model. Again, those white lines are the middle upper level pattern, and the colors are low-level spin. Now watch how the tail end of this system in the middle upper levels gets hung out over the southeast by Sunday. And all these colors, that's the built-in low-level spin of the front that will remain, that was attached to that departing system, and that will remain off the southeast coast. Closer to hurricane season, that could be the development of a tropical system. Not this time, but it will hang out near the coast well into early to middle part of next week before it's finally moving out. But watch what happens at the surface because of this. We get rid of our severe weather event, but then high pressure building in behind it, along with that trailing front that won't completely die. You get high pressure here and developing low along that front. All those isobars means an onshore flow into North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, northern Florida, at the very least, windy and high surf and rip currents at the beach, and that will last Saturday, Sunday, well into Monday as that low lingers near the coast, Mike.
Dr. Nab, thank you for that. And still to come here on the show tonight, more on our ongoing severe weather, including another look at yesterday's dramatic moments as tornadoes tore through the Deep South. And of course, we're going to track the storms for you tonight, including the severe thunderstorms and the tornado warnings that we have. Plenty of storms at Greensboro, up toward Roxborough in North Carolina tonight. Durham, Orange, and Person counties under tornado warnings right now. We want you to take shelter quickly. That warning until 7 o'clock tonight.
Bender.
All right, how about some new video and a shot from Fort Mill, South Carolina, looking up toward Pineville, North Carolina. This was a tornado-warned storm, and you can see it off in the distance there. And at one point, we believe we might have had a touchdown here, south side of Charlotte. We did have a tornado warning in Mecklenburg County. That came around Carowinds in Pineville and Matthews, eventually weakened. But that's what a big old tornado-warned storm looks like from afar, my friends.
Yeah, man, at least some really torrential rain, probably some hail, too, in that area earlier today. But parts of the upstate western North Carolina have now been cleared from our tornado watch, so things much calmer this evening. Same can't be said for everybody, though. We welcome you back into Weather Underground. I'm Alex Wilson here with Mike Bettis. Mike, now it's like Raleigh into southeastern parts of Virginia getting in on all the action.
You know, we really got hit hard yesterday. We still have some lingering dynamics in the atmosphere that are popping some severe storms tonight and a handful of tornadoes, too.
Yeah, we still have an active warning here in the extreme northern part of North Carolina. So we're getting up near the Virginia state line. So we're to the north and east of Greensboro, north and west of Raleigh, and this is north of Interstate 85. Our tornado warning off towards the north side again of 85 could be bringing us some gusty winds as well as hail in addition to that possible tornado. It's a radar indicated tornado warning here in Durham and Orange and Person County. Looking at that area of rotation right here around the south side of Brushy Fork. Now this is going to be moving off towards the east-northeast. Maybe a little bit of a debris showing up here along 157. So want to watch that area very closely here as we move forward, because yeah, that area of possible debris, we begin to see some different colors there. That's essentially the correlation coefficient, picking up raindrops, but also differentiating what's not a raindrop, what's not a hailstone, what might be more a building or business debris or tree debris. So that's what we're seeing here around the Bushy Fork area. So again, pretty good looking area of rotation headed towards the Roxborough area. I think it will likely skirt just off to the south, but still I want you in your safe spot in Roxborough. Searle at 638, Denny Store at 644, Wilburns at 653, and Cornwall at 657. So you can see in the last few scans that radar has tightened up, and this has been a storm that we've been tracking for a while. Elon College reporting an overturned and damaged bus from thunderstorm winds. Some other reports coming in around Burlington, and then south of High Point, some reports of at least wind damage. They'll get out, of course, and see if it's determined to be something other than that. Now here around Alamance and Orange County, likely getting in some hail out of this storm on the northern side. Also some gusty winds. We're going to be watching both Chapel Hill and Durham. So the college campuses both in the path of this one as this storm continues on the north side of Raleigh. Chapel Hill at 638, Durham 647, and Gorman 652 local time. We get you up into Virginia where we have seen some really heavy rain. That's begun to move out of the Newport News area, but you can see another storm warned upon. This one has a little appendage on it. We'll be watching this one closely to the east of Ivor, Isle of Wight County. Mike?
Thank you for that. And then we've got the rain and wind that's moving through central Ohio. Live look at Columbus, Ohio. It's cool, just 46 degrees, showery for us, and plenty of wind here through the Midwest. And there could be some spots where you actually mix a little bit of rain with some snow, but it's a really raw kind of evening for you, unfortunately. Look at some of these wind gusts around Indy. Wind gusts about 40 miles an hour. Chicago winds are gusting to 46 miles an hour, and then we've got rain that goes along with it. So there's the low that was sitting back across the plains in the Midwest yesterday. It's now pulling through, say, the Tennessee or the Ohio River Valley through Kentucky right now. Louisville, 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts right now, so it's an uncomfortable evening, no question about that. How about the heavier rain we've had around Fort Wayne? We still have our flood advisory here at Boone, Clinton, Hamilton counties, goes down through Indianapolis. These winds will be really intense tonight. Look at these gusts as we go through the evening. 40, 50 miles an hour are possible here, folks. So it's not going to be a lot of fun to be outside, that's for sure. Would not be surprised to see some maybe branches in your yard. You have to do a little bit of cleanup there. And you may even have some sporadic power outages as well. The showers end for us overnight tonight. You'll have a much more pleasant day tomorrow, at least a drier day, let's put it that way. Then we take you over into the Northeast, some heavier rain here, especially through Massachusetts right now. Boston, we're sitting in the mid-40s with the rain. State College, Pittsburgh, we have the showers. There are your thunderstorms down through West Virginia right now. A handful of warnings that have come along with those as well. D.C., we're at 53 degrees, and we have the rain. Let's talk about what happens with this forecast. Yes, plenty of rain still comes through, but how about this? The northern edge of that, some snow. Boston probably going to get about an inch of snow, Alex. Most of it melts on contact, though.
All right, some good news there. Well, coming up on Weather Underground, we're going to take you to some of the communities hard hit by yesterday's tornado outbreak as they pick up the pieces in the wake of the damaging storms. And of course, we are monitoring severe weather right now through parts of North Carolina into the state of Virginia. We've got that tornado warning north of Raleigh, severe thunderstorm warning for Chapel Hill and Durham.
You will not want to miss a new episode of Mud Mountain Haulers. It is sink or swim for a rookie as the team takes on some of their toughest missions.
This time on Mud Mountain Haulers.
There's trucks lined up around the corner.
A race to clear the last logs on Porcupine. It's a steep, icy wall.
You can flop them over in a millisecond.
A LeBeau rookie struggles to secure his place in the lineup.
If he doesn't make the hill, then we'll be screwed.
And the unforgiving mud pushes Craig and the team to the edge.
What the heck is happening here?
A knife, a knife!
All new Mud Mountain Haulers. That episode airs this Sunday night at 10, 9 Central. Alex?
I want to get you back to our coverage of our severe severe weather and tornado outbreak. NOAA satellites capturing last night's storm in a 24-hour time lapse, and pretty incredible. You see the flashes of lightning. You can also see that change in wind direction with height. You see some of the southern clouds, or the lower level clouds, I should say, moving from the south, and then some of the upper level clouds moving more of a west to east direction. So giving you a sense of that spin that we had in the atmosphere. And those storms fired this, a huge cone tornado over Silas, Alabama. Take a look at that. Very clearly see that cone shape. And one of the tornado survivors took to social media this morning.
When you lose everything that you worked so hard for, oh, my heart hurts for these people.
Heartbreaking indeed when you look at, your neighborhood and you come out one afternoon just after a matter of minutes and see everything has changed. A lot of work needing to be done in this community. Even that tree, you saw just for a second that some debris lofted into that tree that had been stripped of many of its branches. So, devastating scenes for some of these communities that were hit hard by the storms. And it wasn't just tornadoes that we were watching. We had a severe thunderstorm bringing a wild blast of rain and wind. This is Columbus, Mississippi. And again, these doorbell cameras really give you another look at what's happening when you, of course, are in your safe spot. You need to be in that lowest level, most interior room. And here's why. Wind blowing sideways, that rain going nuts, and the wind chimes also spinning round and round. Now in Moundville, Alabama, a security camera captured the moment a tornado ripped up a few sheds. The first one, you can see that roof peeled right off, and then we watched that second shed tumble, splintered. Officials there at the National Weather Service say this was an EF1 tornado that did this damage. And Selma, Alabama, a town you probably heard the name of several times yesterday if you were watching. They were a city that really couldn't escape the weather. All over town today, the scene, down trees, power lines down, and they have been working hard to get some of these trees off the road. So yet another reason why, even once the storms are clear of your area, even once they're out of there, you want to stay off the roads, because unfortunately, trees over roadways have been a real issue, Dr. Knabb, across the southeast. That combination of rain and wind, no good.
And such an important point that even after a storm has departed, trees on the roadway, water covering the roadway, can last after the storm has departed. Now, aren't we looking forward to this storm getting out of here, this big low pressure system that's produced all this severe weather? Well, we're going to get rid of most of it, but unfortunately, not quite all of it. I want to show you what the models do with the surface low and with the front that is over the the southeast coast into Florida. Watch what happens. That front never completely goes away. In fact, we got one front, kind of a reinforcing front there as the low departs by this time tomorrow. And then on Saturday, nice big high pressure builds in over the northeast. But south of there's the front that will be lingering, and then broad area of low pressure off of Florida. That produces a tremendous pressure gradient with the winds blowing the ocean straight at the coastline from North Carolina down to central Florida. So starting Saturday, it'll be breezy, especially at the coast, occasionally a bit wet, but dangerous rip currents, some high surf, maybe some beach erosion. That'll be going on Saturday and Sunday. And then watch what the Euro does with this broad area of low pressure, strengthens it a little bit. Hard to tell, just how close it will get, how strong it will get. Doesn't look tropical. This will still be frontal, but still tremendous onshore flow into North Carolina on Monday before this finally gets out of here Tuesday into Wednesday. Now, the water temperatures, if this was June, this would be a very good candidate for a tropical system forming right on our doorstep. Waters aren't quite warm enough yet, and this will be such a frontal system, but the waters are warmer than average, so this just gives us a little taste of what can happen as we get closer to the hurricane season. But for now, let's just worry about the beaches being dangerous with the rip currents and the high surf. And Saturday and Sunday from Jacksonville and Daytona all the way up to Hatteras, consistent long-term period of wind gusts 25, 30, maybe as high as 40 miles an hour, even into Monday as the low goes by, Mike. So not a good beach weekend in the southeast.
For sure, Dr. Knapp, thanks for that update. Want to update you new tornado warnings that we have newly issued for Durham and Orange County here. Could threaten the town of Durham, North Carolina. Sits right here. Eno, Gorham, Hillsborough being affected right now. Little inflow right in there. Could have a tornado just near Hillsborough or just south of it. Our warning till 7:30. The newest issued warning is for Granville County. It's right here. That storm could be coming near Oxford. Storm's moving off to the east-northeast about 40 miles per hour.
Coming up at 8 p.m. right after Weather Underground, it's another dramatic episode of Highway Through Hell. Tonight, the team faces tough rescues in even tougher locations.
This time on Highway Through Hell.
Oh my God.
A wreck on the rocks puts Team Reliable
I really don't like standing here.
up against a wall.
Hold on, hold on. Stop!
A blowdown on a bridge
Take it a little bit.
stretches
Here, Craig.
Ken's crew.
Okay.
And all new off-road terrain
Here we go.
tests Jamie.
Oh, no.
That is Highway Through Hell. You can see it right after this show, 8/7 Central. Mike?
You know, it wasn't just a few days ago. We got buried in snow in Colorado. We got nailed in Denver. 27 inches of snow came down. That was Sunday in Thornton. Look at the cars that are buried. Now that's today with a live look at Denver. We're 39 degrees, beautiful blue sky. A lot of that snow has melted away. Roads are in perfect shape. There's some snow in the grassy area still. Last check, your snow depth with 8 inches, but you're melting a ton. Again, you got 27, you're down to 8 already, but you've been melting a ton recently. But we still have a decent amount of snow in the path of what was Winter Storm Xylia here. There, look at all this white on the map right here. This is all snow. Big snow still on the ground for us here, but I gotta tell you this, there's more where that came from. Believe it or not, there's more where that came from. Since the beginning of the month, look at the heavy snow that we've had here across Utah. Big snow here through the Rockies. In particular, Colorado and Wyoming getting hit pretty hard. Our total forecast, though, starting Saturday night generally, going through Tuesday, does put a target on us here. Aspen, Denver, here we go again. Could be looking at a 5 to 8 incher. It's possible. This is going to be a little bit different than the last one, which had a low that was kind of just parked right here, and it just kept funneling in upslope winds and moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, and it just stuck with us. This is going to be a little faster moving system, and the setup is more of a high pressure with cold air in place. So you're limiting the moisture because the flow now is just coming out of a different direction. You're not tapping into Gulf of Mexico moisture. So there's a look at the cold air that really spills south out of Canada. So that's ingredient number one. Then you just need some moisture, and we'll have limited amounts, but I think enough to really maximize some snow here through the mountains. So watch it happen initially here as some rain converts over to some snow. Out here in eastern Colorado, you're likely going to be rain, but that snow might even linger into Tuesday morning. I think for Denver, probably Sunday into Monday is your time frame. The snow in March should not be a surprise. It's typically our snowiest month, but Dr. Knapp, when we've already had 27 inches and maybe another 5 to 8 is coming, it's a bit much.
Yeah, it is, and unfortunately, April, and I've been out there in May when they've had snow before. Not saying that is going to happen, but winter can last a while in Colorado. March, often the snowy time of year out there, and there's that big trough that Mike was just talking about that's going to cause that cold weather into next week. But that's also going to set up the return flow off the Gulf of Mexico once again into next week. That will set the stage for more rain and storms. And looking all the way out through next Thursday, and really it doesn't get going till Sunday. It'll be pretty dry in the center and eastern part of the country until Sunday or so. But Sunday through Thursday could be pretty wet in the eastern 2/3 of the country, anywhere east of the Rockies, a lot of rain. But the southern portion of the east, along the Gulf Coast, that's where the Euro pegs a lot of heavy rain. GFS has the same general sense of things. So that, I think, is pretty well baked in, that we're going to be wet in the early to middle part of next week. System number 1 is the one that's going to be producing that snow out in Colorado. Watch what happens in the middle and upper levels with the white lines here. As you get into Sunday, system number 1 is here, but then there's another system coming into the Pacific Northwest. That'll be system number 2. Go to Monday, when number 1 moves out of the Rockies, the colors show the low-level spin. You start to get cyclogenesis at the surface in the lee of the Rockies. That could set up for some storms in the southern plains on Monday. And then system number 2 gets out into the Four Corners region on Tuesday, and that might be pivoting around the first one. So we'll have multiple rounds of unsettled weather. Look at next Thursday. System number 2 is down here on the Gulf, and that will add to the rainfall down in Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana and vicinity. So that's going to be a rainy period for them. Now let's take a look at what goes on at the surface. Stays pretty dry through the weekend until that first system clears the Rockies. There's the Colorado snow in the weekend. But here's our low that could come into the plains on Monday. Alex, Monday night has the possibility to be that dry line kind of nighttime convective setup as we often see in the springtime.
It is spring after all, right? So every few days we got something to watch. Well, coming up on Weather Underground, another hour headed your way. We're tracking those dangerous storms moving through the southeast, still North Carolina and Virginia. Eyes on you. And we're looking back at communities hard hit by yesterday's outbreak. Of course, we'll get you a look at the radar when we return. That tornado warning continues well to the north of Raleigh in northern North Carolina.
Kids can change minds.
Underground dealing with an onslaught of severe weather. The deep south blitzed by tornadoes. Mississippi and Alabama hit hard. More than 24 twisters reported, including scenes like this from the air. Incredible. Then on the ground, dangerous storms tearing through neighborhoods, damaging homes and businesses.
Last survivors recall the frightening moment a tornado struck.
My sister was down at the basement. She pulled up, tried to get out of her car, and it was just, the wind was just sucking her away. And my son, Trent, went out the door, grabbed a hold of her, and jerked her through.
We have the very latest from hard-hit communities as they survey the damage left behind. And the danger not over yet. We're watching storms moving through the southeast right now. The Carolinas and Virginia the target this time. It's all coming up this hour on Weather Underground.
Tonight for Weather Underground, I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. Dr. Nab here with us as well, tracking another night of severe weather from Florida all the way up to southeast Virginia. And strong winds and rain, Mike, making its mark on the Midwest. And there's a little snow we're talking about.
Just you wait till we talk about that snow. We'll get some on the East Coast. We'll get some back into the mountains again for the second time in about a week's time. But certainly severe weather is taking center stage tonight. And we've got some new video to show you here of some damage potentially caused by a tornado here in High Point, North Carolina. See how the power poles are bent here. Some damage to some tree branches there. A lot of trees that have come down, quite a bit of debris on the roadways here. We did have a tornado warning in this area, and it's very possible we had a brief tornado touchdown. Then we have Burlington, North Carolina. Also some storm damage here, and it'd take probably a tornado to knock over a bus like that. That's incredible. Picked it up and put it right on its roof. So obviously it became elevated at some point and probably even got flipped around because it would have been facing the other direction. If it was straight line winds, I don't think the straight line winds would have done that. But you can also see, look at the grocery carts that are tipped over here, trees that have been uprooted. Really incredible stuff here in Burlington, North Carolina, trees and fences that are knocked down. Then a longer view away here from Archdale, North Carolina, of a possible tornado potentially behind the building there. You can see the big storm cloud here. Can't necessarily see if there's a tornado in that or not, but these were big storms that were racing through North Carolina and the Charlotte metro area getting hit, especially the south side. But Alex, we are still dealing with the possibility of tornadoes this evening.
Absolutely. We've got a tornado warning right up in the northern part of North Carolina, very close to the Virginia state line. Still monitoring that area, but areas north of Norfolk down to areas west of Fayetteville remaining under severe thunderstorm warnings. So hail, gusty winds, most certainly a possibility as well. Let's get you down to the north side of Raleigh. We're talking well to the north of Raleigh now. A tornado warning here in Durham County. This is north of Durham, so downtown Durham not included, but we'll be looking at areas along 501 and eventually 85 as well, as that tornado warning extends into Granville County. So Butner, Creedmoor, and Stem, some of the communities in the path of this one. And again, crossing over I-85. There's our area of rotation. So again, we'll be watching this continue off towards the east. These storms have been moving around 40 miles an hour throughout the day, so moving pretty quickly. Again, offering up some gusty winds in addition to that possible tornado and the possibility of some hail and strong rainfall rates. Butner 7:06 local time, Hester at 7:12, and Tar River at 7:16 local time. So again, all of these communities that I've just named in that tornado warning, you're included. So lowest level, most interior room. Here to the north, we've got a tornado warning in Granville County, Oxford, and Stovall, some of the communities. And again, this is right up along the North Carolina, Virginia state line. Looking at some areas of rotation, we've got this one to the north and west, or really west-northwest, I should say, of the Oxford area. I think we're beginning to see a really strong gust of wind, this line of winds, and some rotations along that. So watch for the possibility that we could get a tornado spin up here, but really anywhere in that zone, I'd be prepared for some strong gusty winds. Kenton Fork, Gila, and Dabney in the path of this storm, as well as Williamsboro at 7:15 local time. So again, this storm continuing to move off to the east. We are still under a tornado watch for communities in central and northeastern North Carolina, as well as southeastern Virginia. This watch in effect until 9 o'clock. We've been trimming off areas. Charlotte no longer under the watch. Raleigh, again, this area generally beginning to see that threat move farther and farther east within the zone, and Norfolk area as well. Mike, I think sooner rather than later, those storms will be out over the water.
Yeah, so obviously some pretty nasty storms tonight across the Tar Heel state in particular. In North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper declaring a state of emergency allows some movement of trucks and equipment to respond to any emergencies and potential power outages. So some proactive moves there, but want to give you the update on the forecast as we go through the next couple of hours here. I want to start here in Virginia. Richmond sitting right here, Norfolk sitting right in here. So the storms are already there right now. They're likely going to stay with us. And I think Richmond in particular still gets very, very active now through 9, 10 o'clock tonight. Those storms then racing over toward Gloucester, Norfolk, Hampton Roads, out here toward maybe Cape Charles, or out through the beaches here in Maryland as well. So let's take you down through the Charlotte area. We've already been hit, especially south side of Charlotte. There's a tornado potentially tracked right through here. Carowinds over toward Matthews. We could get a few more showers tonight, maybe around Concord. We get some showers up around the lake as well. But ultimately, they're not going to be as nasty as they have been this afternoon. The storms are here already through the Research Triangle here. So Durham, Chapel Hill, Raleigh getting hit this evening, then coming across I-95, likely weakening over the next few hours. But I think short term here, we still get hit pretty hard. Then light to moderate showers through maybe even lunchtime tomorrow. Then down around the villages here in central Florida, we have some storms. Watch these storms hit us right along I-4 tonight, including Orlando. Here we are over toward Winter Haven, 10 o'clock this evening. Could extend up toward Daytona Beach. And then that line coming back down toward Titusville and Kissimmee through the overnight. The storm line weakening overnight tonight, but pushing right through central Florida. There's the big picture in all. A lot of active weather going on for us here, the Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. There's the back end of the system as it spirals out here, but you can still see getting hit tomorrow morning, maybe through early afternoon through the Carolinas. Look at this big outflow-induced shower band that the models are picking up on here, Alex, going into Saturday. But ultimately, everything should quiet down for us mid to late day tomorrow.
And that'll be nice, right? I think a lot of people are like, I could use a good exhale. We look at parts of the Midwest, and like this camera seems a little bumpy It is 40 degrees with 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Chicago right now. And those winds have been gusting over 40 miles an hour throughout the afternoon. So it has been a strong wind day, causing problems in terms of travel. I know if you've been at any of those airports, may have seen some issues, or at least some maybe more bumpy takeoffs and landings than you'd prefer. More of that extending down into other parts of the Midwest, Peoria, Indianapolis, gusting 30, even over 40 miles an hour at times. Same for Fort Wayne, same for Cleveland and Detroit. We've got rain, even some snow mixing in across parts of Indiana and Ohio at this point. And by the way, we've got some strong thunderstorms working through sections of West Virginia. That's causing some flash flooding issues, a severe warning for Cabell and Putnam counties as well. We look at what's happening here in Ohio. Again, seeing some of that snow taking over in areas surrounding the rain. So Findlay, you've got rain. You head to the south for a time. Saw a little bit of snow there along I-30 and I-75 down into portions of eastern Indiana. Around Muncie, we've seen some snow showers at times. Over towards Anderson, though, we've kept it rain, moderate rain coming down around downtown Indianapolis. And these areas are under a flood advisory, not just Hamilton County, but also Clinton and Boone counties until 10:30 local time. So some of those small creek streams may see rises. Some of those roads may be covered. Use caution. Please be careful out there, especially now that the sun is going to go down and it'll be dark. It makes it much harder to see any water issues that we're dealing with. Rainfall accumulations over the last 6 hours north of Kokomo over 4 inches. So Mike, very understandable as to why we're dealing with some of those flood issues.
And then we're going to take you into the Northeast. We've got some really heavy rain going on for us right now. Boston, heavy rain's just north of town, but getting soaked tonight in Massachusetts, and really heavy rain bound around Worcester. We're 45 degrees. It's cloudy, it's foggy, it's rainy. And if that's not bad enough, we're going to get a little bit of snow overnight tonight as well. I know. So far, it's been a manageable March. We've only had 1/10 of an inch of snow. But this might bring you a little bit more, but I don't think it's going to be a huge deal for you. So there's the heavier rain now coming through Worcester and near Boston here. Look at the snow now that's starting to form for us through New York. So the colder air is starting to filter down in for us here. Some showers around Harrisburg, Stroudsburg, Williamsport, Punxsutawney, back into maybe Youngstown, Ohio here. There's the colder air now starting to move in on the northern side of this system. So yes, through Pennsylvania, portions of New York, Albany, quick little shot of snow for you here. And the lingering snow maybe down around Boston for you overnight tonight. So it'll happen while you're sleeping. You're never even going to know because why? Temperatures right now in the 40s. Yes, it'll get cold enough to snow, but it'll probably be above freezing the whole time. Roads will be wet. Grass will be wet. The snow that comes down is all going to melt when it hits. So you may not even notice that it snowed last night. But could you get an inch? It's possible. I think there'll be small pockets where you get slightly more than that, but I don't think really anyone even notices that this snow came down. For Boston, we're basically right on average for snow for the season so far. And if you're wondering, our average date of our last snow is March 29th, which is only 11 days from now. Okay, last year, believe it or not, it snowed a month from now, April 18th. So if this ends up being our last snow of the season, fingers crossed for you. We'd like to get an early start on spring. Then I think you'll be in real good shape here. But as far as the temperatures have gone so far this March, it's been average or maybe just coolish in a few spots. But overwhelmingly, it's been warm across New Jersey, Pennsylvania, back across the Ohio Valley. Boston, cheers for you. You're average. Alex?
All right, well, the last 36 to 48 hours have been active, to say the least. A verified tornado outbreak brought us scenes like this in Gardendale, Alabama. So some scary stuff happening yesterday across sections of the southeast. All started, though, into the day on Wednesday as our area of low pressure spurning severe weather across the south central, then into the southeast. You know, yesterday, of course, watching for that significant threat across those states that we saw most of our tornado warnings, including Alabama and Mississippi. Goodness gracious, a lot of our tornado warnings concentrated over those two states. But between Wednesday and Thursday, over 200 severe thunderstorm warnings from parts of Oklahoma and Texas all the way into the Florida Panhandle. And then, of course, we'll be adding today's warnings into the mix as well, with more of those coming in across South and North Carolina, as well as the state of Virginia. Again, majority of our tornado warnings through this event thus far yesterday happening across Mississippi and into Alabama, and that's where our tornado reports coming in as well. We start things off on the 16th, so Wednesday. Saw a lot of our action on Wednesday afternoon. afternoon and evening across sections of the southern plains. That included the overnight hours as well. Then we got into the day yesterday, and really by late morning, early afternoon, storms beginning to fire with our tornado reports across our deep south states. And then overnight, still seeing some of that strong wind, heavy rain, even some hail. And then today, of course, more of those reports coming in across North and South Carolina and Virginia. Mike, really, it's still underway at this point. We are still dealing with some of those warnings. But one of the strongest tornado reports we've seen thus far out of Chilton County, Alabama. Here, winds of 130 miles an hour. That tornado given an EF2 rating. Now, our crews caught up with one man who sheltered his entire family in his basement, including his sister, who barely made it in time.
My sister was down at the basement. She pulled up, tried to get out of her car, and it was just, the wind was just sucking her away. And my son, Trent, went out the door, grabbed a hold of her, and jerked her through the basement door, got her in there. He was pulling on both of them, but he got them back in the corner where we were. And when it hit, I mean, it was just a mess. It destroyed everything around here.
Suffered major damage, but everyone who stayed in that safe shelter made it out safely. So really important to remember, Mike, there's proof.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can see just how much damage there is there. You can survive these storms if you're in the right place. All right, we've got some really stunning video to show you of one of these tornadoes near Silas, Alabama. We've got a view from the air here taken by a drone. Just a wild, you can see the clear cone tornado here. We've got a really strong, and you can really see the air moving upwards into this. If you pay real close attention to the dark clouds that are moving upwards. But also, how about this? Wild horizontal rotation in here. You're going to get satellite tornadoes that form on the edges of this. That is really amazing. I actually think that this rotation might be connected up into here. It's really amazing to watch, isn't it? The intricacies of it all. That's just neat. And then if you watch down here, you end up seeing the multiple vortices within it. At times you'll see the striations. Actually, multiple vortices in tornadoes are quite common. You see them frequently. It actually is somewhat rare to not, especially with a tornado that's of this size. That's from the air. The view is spectacular with the giant rotating mesoscale storm system, and then the tornado that comes off of it. How about a little bit closer view here? And you can see there's a radio tower right in here. This thing has really strong guy wires that hold it upright. I'm surprised, though, that this tornado didn't take it out. Power flashes down here at the bottom as the lines are probably touching each other, debris hitting it. Look at the debris, how high up in the sky the debris is being lofted. So that really shows you the force, the centrifugal force here, upward moving air, then spiraling out. Then down near the ground, you'll definitely see multiple vortices within here as well. Thin little areas of spin that happen, and sometimes those vortices can add quite a bit of wind speed, but usually it's the parent circulation that hosts these multiple vortices. Just a fascinating view, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, always incredible what we can get now from these drones. I feel like we're spoiled here, and some of this tornado video really gives you a different understanding of what's happening. Well, coming up on the show, we're tracking strong storms, including new tornado warnings into the state of North Carolina. We've got Halifax County, Vance County, and Warren County under a tornado warning. In addition, Granville County for this storm moving along I-85.
With every cup,
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful.
There's lots of things that can go wrong.
The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road. You just hope you make it. It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
I want to get you some new video in out of Coleman, Alabama. So we are still getting images from yesterday's storms across sections of the Deep South. Here you can see some large trees taken down, and there debris in that tree. So going to show you that there were some other structures besides trees that were damaged. Here it looks like a big piece of metal siding or roofing wrapped into that tree. That tree broken off, and Alabama and Mississippi especially hard hit by storms, and power crews have been out restoring power, as well as a lot of people were left in the dark as a result of yesterday's storms. Now, we still have some active severe weather ongoing across sections of the state of North Carolina. We're looking way up in the northern fringe, up where North Carolina and Virginia meet up. And there we've got a tornado warning for this storm along 85. It's Granville County, Creedmoor, and Stem, some of the communities within this storm. This is radar indicated a lot of heavy rain with this as well, maybe even a little hail, although seeing less of that. There's our area of rotation to the south of Oxford. So we're going to be watching this approaching the Watkins area as well. Correlation coefficient may be picking up a little bit, so we might be seeing some tree debris here or other debris on the south side of Oxford. This did cross over 85, so perhaps having an impact there on travel. That's a big highway in the region. Watkins up next. So there's our area of rotation again. This heading east around 40 miles an hour. Watkins at 723. Henderson at 7:31 local time, and Adcock Crossroads at 7:35. This is also at the intersection of 15. You can actually see that little notch within that storm where we've got that inflow coming in. Halifax, Vance, and Warren County likely seeing some hail on the northwest side of Williamsboro out of this one. Dabney, one of the other communities in the path of this one. There's our area of rotation around the Williamsboro area, probably seeing some gusty winds throughout the storm. And again, watching for that possible spin up of a tornado right around the Williamsboro area. That'll also be crossing over 85. So again, if you know somebody who may be traveling this stretch of 85 in northern parts of North Carolina, let them know. They just went through one storm if they're down to the south of Oxford, and another one here on the way. Bullocksville, 726, Norlina, 736, and Norlina, and Warren Plains at 738. Local time. Our tornado watch continues for some of these counties across central and eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia until 9 o'clock. Across the southeast, rain has been in the cards for us, as well as wind sticking around.
Yeah, and we're not going to 100% get rid of this system over the next few days. We're still going to feel its presence for a while.
Oh boy.
Severe weather is going to end after tonight, but this big low pressure system will still bring a lot of wind on its north side, and this front on the south side isn't going to completely leave the picture over the southwestern Atlantic. So let's watch how this plays out in the Euro model at the surface. So by tomorrow, the low will have exited pretty quickly off to the northeast. Here comes high pressure coming over the Great Lakes. You still have a lot of wind on the backside of this tomorrow, but then Saturday onward for several days from North Carolina down to central Florida, we're going to be south of that high pressure, and then the front is going to just hang off the southeast coast. And we have broad low pressure trying to form on that tail end of the front. That's going to put this area in a very strong pressure gradient with onshore flow, and it's not going to be super hot either. It's going to be kind of raw along the beach, and it's going to be windy with a high risk of rip currents, some high surf, some beach erosion, not the greatest of beach days. Most of the rain should be over the water or at the coast. And that pattern's going to stick around Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, if the Euro's right, the low is going to take on more definition and move northward. This should be a non-tropical low, a frontal system. If this were June, that'd be a different story. So North Carolina will still be windy with the onshore flow into Monday. Finally, this thing starts to weaken on Tuesday into Wednesday. The waters off the southeast coast with the Gulf Stream are warm-ish, but they're not as warm as they will be. But they're warmer than average. So you give this a couple months, this kind of setup would likely generate a subtropical to tropical system. But for now, it should be frontal, should be non-tropical, but still windy. Look at the wind speeds here, the gusts. Saturday and Sunday from Hatteras down to Daytona, you're going to be frequently and persistently gusting 20, 30, maybe as much as 40 miles an hour all weekend long. And those strong winds will make it kind of unpleasant at the beach, which is probably a good thing, Alex, because maybe these strong winds and the unpleasant weather will keep people out of the ocean because of the high risk of rip currents, Mike.
Yeah.
And hopefully it does, Dr. Nab. Thank you so much for that. Still to come on Weather Underground. More on our ongoing severe weather, including another look at yesterday's dramatic moments as a tornado tears through the deep south, and it's all caught on camera by a drone. And severe thunderstorms producing tornadoes now in Piedmont of North Carolina, north of Raleigh here. We've got a couple different tornado warnings, including in Granville County, in Creedmoor and in Stem. Take shelter right away.
Walter, did you know Geico could save you hundreds?
Welcome back. Wild scene, muddy flood waters rushing down a ledge in Purdue. 15 homes collapsing, farmlands destroyed. How crazy is this? And how scary is this, right?
This is nuts, and that water is moving really fast. I think a lot of times people look at water moving quickly and they go, well, I can swim, you know, you can get, but this is, and the power of this water just carrying these chunks of trees and rocks and you name it.
That's just what it's got to be. I'm not exactly sure what the scenario here is, Alex. It looks like it could be maybe at one point it's like a dry creek bed or something like that. But obviously the mountains are right there, so you suspect that there was a lot of rain somewhere and they had a mud flow that came down. Sometimes you'll see something maybe not to that extent, but we'll see something like that in our mountains, usually in California.
Yeah. I was going to say, it reminds you of a much more extreme version of some of the scenes that we've seen across parts of the west and southwestern U.S. During that monsoon season. Well, we welcome you back into Weather Underground on this Thursday. I'm Alex Wilson. He's Mike Bettis, Dr. Nab with us as well. Mike, once again, tracking some severe weather out there, but we're beginning to see some light at the end of the tunnel. Things are going to quiet down sooner rather than later.
Thank goodness. You know, we've had several days of tornadoes. Tonight will be the last of it, we believe, but still tell it to folks that live in North Carolina or Virginia, it's their turn tonight.
Absolutely. We are looking at Durham, North Carolina. This is from the Durham Bulls Athletic Park. A view looking to the west. So things to the west are beginning to look better, right? You can see a little bit of brightness. We've seen the rain showers. We've seen the thunderstorms, had a severe warning around the Durham area. That has continued to move off towards the east. Still watching the northwest side of Raleigh here for a little bit of activity. But again, at this point, the storms fewer and farther between. We've got the one around Fayetteville that just has a warning on it. Interesting look to that one, too. We'll continue to watch that. But our tornado warning here around the Raleigh area, north of the Raleigh area, it's Granville County, and it's a radar-indicated tornado. I think we could be getting in on some very heavy rain and hail in that area, and more likely than not, our tornado there. So we're going to be watching Franklin, Vance, and Warren counties as well as this storm continues off towards the east. 8:30 p.m., the expiration on this one. Henderson, South Henderson, some of the communities in the path of this tornado warning. And again, at least seeing some areas of broad rotation here, likely looking at this area around the west of Kittrell. In addition to Kittrell, we're going to be watching 39, 41, and this storm or 401, excuse me, and South Henderson, Adcock Crossroads, Vicksboro, some of the communities in the path of this one. So Watkins, you're up next, really right now. That storm on your doorstep, and then South Henderson would be next. So that area of rotation there, and again down that line could see a few other areas where we see some rotation. We're going to be watching for, I think, a lot of wind out of these storms and perhaps some spin-ups here along the line. Probably some hail here right along the Virginia-North Carolina state line, and its areas to the east and northeast of Williamsboro, of course, where we've got our area of rotation, south of and east of Townsville. So that'll cross over 85. Portions of I-85 there in extreme northern North North Carolina. We're talking up near the state line under that warning. Bullocksville, Norlina, Warren Plains, some of the next communities in the path of this storm as it makes its way very quickly to these. Mike, these storms have been moving about 40 miles an hour this afternoon.
Yeah, they're rocking and rolling for sure. And we've got some weather that's rocking and rolling across the Ohio Valley. It's dreary, drizzly, ugly for you in Columbus, Ohio. Winds are picking up, though. I was looking at some of the latest times. Winds are now gusting upwards of 30 miles per hour. But here in the Midwest, it's just not a fun night. I can't sugarcoat this one, folks. It's ugly, right? Showers here, St. Louis up through Indy and Cleveland. Look at Cleveland. Our winds right now are gusting about 43 miles an hour with the showers. Very windy in Chicago, gusts over 40 miles an hour. You're finally drier, though, but flooding could become an ongoing issue for us here. Rain leaving for you there in Fort Wayne, headed down through central Indiana, but wind could gust 40 to 50 miles an hour for the remainder of the evening here. Finally, the rain moves out. You'll still be breezy in the morning, but at least you'll be drier. But overall, a really rough go for us here in the Ohio Valley, looking for some showers to persist here into the Northeast as well. Eventually, this rain goes over to a little bit of snow, but Pittsburgh 45 with rain, 39 with showers in State College. Just, what's the phrase? What do the cheerleaders do, Alex? UGLY, you ain't got no alibi, you ugly?
You ugly.
Yeah,
you ugly.
That's the weather tonight in these places.
I think everybody said, I've never felt that more than right now, right? Hey, coming up on Weather Underground, we're going to take you back to some of the communities hard hit by yesterday's tornado outbreak.
This Sunday on a new episode of Heavy Rescue, a tense and dangerous mission leads to a slippery situation.
Yeah, that one is definitely crispy.
This time on Heavy Rescue 401.
Gonna load her up in the dump truck.
Steve faces a blazing backup.
It is not open yet.
These wires could go at any given time.
The bear takes on
I don't like this at all.
a tense recovery
That was scary.
and an icy rollover.
Don't fall off, Mike.
Gives Cornwall
There's ice in.
the slip.
Whoa!
You're going to see Heavy Rescue, an all-new episode this Sunday night at 9, 8 Central.
We want to get you back to our coverage of the severe and tornado outbreak. NOAA satellites capturing last night's storms in a 24-hour time lapse, and pretty incredible. You see those storms blowing up, at times flashes of lightning, and you also see the difference of the wind speed, or rather direction, with height. You can see those winds more at the surface, that cloud cover moving from south to north, upper level clouds or higher level clouds moving from the west to east. And the storms bringing sights like this. This is Silas, Alabama, where we had a huge cone tornado. Can you imagine just looking out your window and seeing this? Now, one of the tornado survivors took to social media this morning.
When you lose everything that you worked so hard for. Oh, my heart hurts for these people.
And it wasn't just tornadoes that we had here across sections of the southeast. A severe thunderstorm brought a huge blast of wind, but in Silas, unfortunately, a lot of cleanup they need to do today. He said it's heartbreaking. Your community is one way one moment, and then in a matter of moments, something completely different. As I mentioned, not just tornadoes, this severe thunderstorm, huge winds to Columbus, Mississippi, blowing that rain sideways. The wind chimes go in every direction, and these video doorbell cameras help us see why we go to that lowest level, most interior room, right? You don't want anything near that or be anywhere near that. In Mountainville, Alabama, a security camera captured the moment a tornado ripped up a couple shed there really quickly. You can see the roof peeled off, almost like you're peeling off, the top of one of those flip-top cans. And then we've got the other shed toppled, rolls before it just splinters apart. So again, a lot of debris across sections of Alabama and into the state of Mississippi. Selma, Alabama, that's a community we talked about a few times yesterday. They could not escape the storms. And like Silas, a lot of debris being cleaned up today. Tree limbs, trees down everywhere. A lot of debris. Power outages have been an issue, particularly across sections of Alabama. So unfortunately, today has been a day of cleanup, although calmer weather. Dr. Knabb, this system, moving out, but for some, still going to cause some issues.
Yeah, we're not going to completely rid ourselves of this incredible system. When you got a middle upper level low this strong, this powerful, this large, it's going to generate severe weather, and we will still have parts of it hanging around because the upper level low goes way back into Missouri and Arkansas, and some of that will hang around over the southeast over the next few days. And then the front that's coming into Florida, some of that frontal zone will linger off of the southeast coast over the Atlantic in the next several days, and that will combine to cause some noticeable weather and beach impacts North Carolina down to Florida. Watch how this plays out, middle and upper levels with the white lines. See how you still get upper level troughing here over the southeast and the mid-Atlantic on Sunday? And these areas of colors, that's the built-in low-level spin of the lingering frontal boundary that's going to hang out off the southeast coast over the Atlantic. And the presence of that upper level trough will help surface low pressure to kind of develop along the tail end of that front. If this was June, this would have a much better shot of becoming something tropical. This will stay non-tropical frontal, but it will linger close to the coast into the middle part of next week before finally getting kicked out. Now at the surface, as our main low departs and high pressure builds in, it'll be windy behind it all the way up into the northeast. But then starting over the weekend, from North Carolina down to central Florida, you're going to be in between the high and broad area of low pressure on the tail end of that front. That means strong onshore flow, cool, raw conditions at the beach with occasional rain showers and rip current risk that'll be pretty high, some high surf, maybe some beach erosion. So not the best of beach days and dangerous in the water. So if you do go in the water, please do it only at a guarded beach. Saturday and Sunday, pretty much the same sort of thing. Not great at the beaches over the weekend. Then a low, according to the Euro, forms and moves northward. Finally gets out of here by Tuesday, Mike, but not a great beach weekend in the southeast.
That's a great forecast there, Dr. Neb. Thanks for the update on that, and advise you just to beware at the beach, that's for sure. We want to get you back to the severe weather that's going on here tonight, including through North Carolina. We've got a couple of tornado warnings right now, including just north of Raleigh, I would say. So around, say, Henderson, over towards Centerville. Big line of storms here. Franklin, Vance, and Warren counties under tornado warnings right now. So if you're in Centerville, take shelter right now. Cottrell as well. Halifax, Vance, and Warren counties under tornado warnings. Norlina here over toward Littleton. Want you to take shelter as well. That storm is riding right along the intense storm riding right along the North Carolina and Virginia state line. More on these storms when we come back right after this.
Lean.
Coming up in just a few minutes at 8 p.m. Eastern, right after Weather Underground, another dramatic episode of Highway Through Hell. Tonight, the team faces tough rescues in even tougher locations.
This time on Highway Through Hell.
Oh my God.
A wreck on the rocks puts Team Reliable
I really don't like standing here.
up against a wall.
Hold on, hold on. Stop!
A blowdown on a bridge
Take it a little bit.
stretches
Here, Craig.
Ken's crew.
Okay.
And all new off-road terrain
Here we go.
tests Jamie.
Oh, no.
That is Highway Through Hell coming up next, 8/7 Central. Mike?
Hey, it was just a few days ago that we had a ton of snow in Colorado. Do you remember these scenes? This is Thornton, Colorado. We had 2 feet plus of snow. Cars are just mounds. Like, how you going to dig your car out of that, right? Look at you today in Denver. You're 40 degrees right now, beautiful blue sky. Roads are dry. There's still some snow left over. And you went from 27 inches to 8. That's your snow depth right now. But I would say this. You're probably going to see some melt. Maybe all that's going to leave before the next round of snow comes in. So it looks like later this weekend, the snow begins for you. But if you look at what's going on this satellite, the moving white is actually the clouds. Where the white is stationary, that's where we have the snowpack that's left over from Winter Storm Xylia here. We had a lot of snow in Colorado, Wyoming, over into Nebraska as well. Since the beginning of the month, boy, we've just been hammered here along the Front Range, and really the storm that we had over the weekend did us in, didn't it? But look at this forecast. Saturday night into Tuesday, another 5 to 8 inches of snow could be coming for us here in Denver. The forecast is still a few days away, so that number could change a little bit. What's different about this one than the last one? Well, the last one had a low pressure sitting in here. We're really forcing in a lot of moisture and east flow into the Rockies off of the Gulf of Mexico, and it lasted a long time. That low barely budged. This is a little different. It's moving along. You've got high pressure and rotation of air in this direction, so your moisture will be a little bit more limited this time. The system will be faster this time. We'll have cold air, though. This big undulation in the jet stream allows a lot of cold air to come south, and so you'll be plenty cold enough to snow. So let's walk you through this forecast. Most of your day on Saturday is in pretty good shape. It's overnight Saturday into Sunday. The snow begins. Snows on Sunday. Snows on Monday. Rain out into the plains here. But before all is said and done, yes, 5 to 8 inches is possible for you in Denver. Now, listen, March is typically our snowiest month, believe it or not, and April is our second snowiest month. But at this rate, Dr. Nab, I mean, if we keep at this pace, we'd be looking at potentially the snowiest March in Denver history. With this one, we're likely to go over 30 inches for the month.
Wow, that is saying something, and it's the same overall kind of pattern. What happens in the lee of the Rockies can not only cause the upslope to bring the snow to Colorado, but can bring storms to the southern plains. So when you have a trough out west, like Mike was just describing, not only does it bring the cold and the wintry weather to the Rockies, then east of there, you get the return flow, moisture brought out northward out of the Gulf of Mexico ahead of that. Now, that overall pattern, I'll give you the details in a sec, but the overall pattern is going to lead to a wet period for the central and eastern part of the country, especially the Gulf Coast states. European model calling out between Sunday and Thursday after that system leaves the Rockies. That would be a very heavy rainfall period. GFS has a similar kind of pattern. So get ready for a wet early to middle part of next week. Here is that system that is going to generate the snow coming into the Pacific Northwest. Now watch what happens in the white lines, the middle upper level pattern. That system now crossing the Rockies on Sunday, and then when you get into Monday, arrives in the lee of the Rockies. Those colors are low level spin. That's surface low pressure starting to form east of the mountains, and then system number 2 coming in behind that. They're going to interact a little bit. So on Tuesday, our lead system is here, the second system is here, and they're both going to contribute to some wet weather in the southeast because our second system by next Thursday is arriving on the Gulf Coast and moving eastward. So springtime is here. It's a progressive pattern. Watch how it plays out at the surface on Sunday when our new low starts to form. There's your upslope to produce the snow in Colorado, but then you get low pressure forming in the southern plains. That could be a dry line kind of nighttime Monday night into Tuesday morning setup that could be rather stormy. So, Mike, we'll be pretty busy with the rain and the storms next week.
A lot going on there with that one. Dr. Nab, thank you. And still to come here on Weather Underground, we're going to track the severe storms for you, including tornado warnings in North Carolina, right up along the North Carolina and Virginia state line. New thunderstorm warnings have popped up around Fayetteville, North Carolina tonight, and storms getting closer and closer toward Wakefield and Williamsburg, Virginia, Prince George, Surrey, and Sussex County under severe thunderstorm warning. Well, before we say goodnight here on Weather Underground, an update of severe weather tonight across Virginia and North Carolina in particular, with tornado warnings for us here. North of Raleigh, south of Emporia, Virginia, right at the North Carolina-Virginia state line. Halifax and Warren counties are under a tornado warning right now, coming past North Carolina right now, and that includes that line of storm that could produce some really high winds, and we'd expect those storms to be in there shortly in Littleton. What's interesting, though, is the rotation has actually moved up into Virginia. The rotation is right here, moving more in this direction through Virginia. But again, there's a radar-indicated tornado. We'll track this for you. Ancrum and Powelton, 8:06, 8:14, the expected arrival times for you. The southern tornado warning here includes Franklin and Warren counties, coming across Highway 401 right now. Could maybe clip us in Centerville, but it might go right between Centerville and Littleton tonight. This is a radar-indicated tornado, and as we track this one out, hitting you in Embro around 8:01, so maybe about 2 minutes from now. Arcola 8:07, Odell 8:07 as well. So get to your safest spot in your home, lowest level, maybe a basement. If you don't have a basement, then ground level floor and inside an interior room like a bathroom or a closet, and put yourself between you and the tornado, okay? Put walls between you. Don't be near windows. That'll be a dangerous place to be. Our tornado watch, meaning conditions are favorable for tornadoes to form, lasts until 9 o'clock tonight, includes Fayetteville, Raleigh, and up toward Hampton Roads and Elizabeth City. For all of us here at Weather Underground, thank you so much for watching. Remember, together we know more. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Be safe.